Mr. Ken Hackshaw, President and founder of the Caribbean-Risk Management Academy and the Trinidad and Tobago Risk Management Institute. The Honourable Adrian Leonce, MP, Member of Parliament for Laventille East, MOVA, and Minister in the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. Mr. Kennedy Richards, Member of Parliament for Point Fortin. Her Worship Salima Thomas, Mayor of Point Fortin Borough Corporation. Ambassador, His Excellency Ralph Thomas, Jamaica's former ambassador to the United States and the People's Republic of China. Mr. Warren Black, Australian Risk Consultant of the Year 2018 and our international keynote speaker. Guest of honor, Mr. Anthony Sabga III, Group CEO, Ansa McCall Group of Companies, and Mrs. Frances Bain Cumberbatch, Chief Legal and External Affairs Officer, Ansa McCall Group of Companies, other dignitaries, Chairman of State Boards, CEOs, private and public sector key risk practitioners. Good morning and thank you for joining us. Welcome to the 4th Caribbean Enterprise Risk Management Conference. Some of the guests in the salutation list will be joining us in process. As you would realize, we've had some inclement weather this morning, so some people are stuck in traffic. And some people are also following this conference on Zoom and on other streaming platforms. So we're happy to have you all with us. And it's actually quite good to be face-to-face after 2 years. So let's have a round of applause for Mr. Hackshaw and his team for putting on this conference, because I think we all fed up on Zoom and other platforms by now. So it's good to meet face-to-face. Just to give you a sense of what the Caribbean Risk Management Academy is, of course, it possesses global experience in training with local insight. It develops relevant research and learning materials to help regional entities in adjusting to social environment, technology, or regulatory changes, and innovating to create new competitive spaces. Together, the Caribbean Risk Management Academy team has designed and delivered customized risk management training programs for both the private and public sector organizations throughout the Caribbean for more than a decade. Members of the team are not only risk management consultants and subject matter experts, but also they are trained and experienced educators and communicators. Among the team, the producers of 2 risk management podcasts entitled Flip This Risk by Dr. Karen Hardy and Risks Unfiltered by Mr. Hackshaw. Dr. Hardy has earned 5 Emmy Awards for her media productions, and she's also the author of a recommended teaching text on the subject called Enterprise Risk Management, a guide to government professionals, published in 2014. So the team is experienced and highly qualified. At this time, I'd like you to join me in welcoming to, of course, deliver the opening and welcoming remarks, the founder and president of the Caribbean Risk Management Academy. Please welcome Mr. Ken Hackshaw.
Thank you, Paul. It's a pretty nice picture up there. Let me just share with you guys a little video clip. Yeah.
How to put this thing back in your mind when you've seen things that have never happened before, then you have to question your ability to predict. You're looking at something they're going to be writing history books on for 50 years. Ukraine. That you've not had a European land war since 1945. Okay, and the complexity of Ukraine is we don't know the outcome. I always make a list, you predict the outcome. Well, you couldn't predict the outcome of Vietnam, Korea, Afghanistan, Iraq, 10 other conflagrations. All wrong. Wars go bad. They go south, they have unintended consequences, and this happens to be roiling the commodity markets of the world. Wheat, oil, gas, and stuff like that, which in my view will continue. We're not taking the proper actions to protect Europe from what's going to happen in oil in the short run, and we're not taking the proper actions to protect you all what's going to happen to oil in the next 5 years, which means it almost has to go up the price. We're not investing enough money, to keep oil a number. And for all those who love climate change, if oil prices go to 175 or 150, which I kind of think is in the cards, to tell you the truth, not in the immediate run, but down the road, then CO2 won't go down, which is everyone predicts because people buy less oil and gas. It's going to go up because all those other countries out there, the poor countries who need oil and gas to feed and heat their citizens, will not buy oil and gas, they'll buy coal. That's what's going to happen. CO2 will go up. It won't come down. It's a hurricane. Right now, it's kind of sunny. Things are doing fine. That hurricane is right out there down the road coming our way. We just don't know if it's a minor one or Superstorm Sandy or Sandy or Andrew or something like that. And it's you better brace yourself.
That was Jamie Dimon, Chairman and CEO of JP Morgan Chase. Most of us will agree that our modern working world is significantly more complex, dynamic, and disruptive than any other time. However, despite any escalations in systemic connectivity and/or volatility in the workplace, we still seem to rely heavily on risk management control methods that were originally developed and based on Industrial Revolution style management thinking. That's a quote from Warren Black, who you'll be hearing from in a few minutes. Now, I'm intentionally pausing my comments around that because, as Mr. Dimon said, a hurricane is coming. We don't know the magnitude. It's not to make you aware of the risks. Actually, part of CRMA is to activate your thinking processes around effective risk management. Folks, risk intelligence, as we know it, is now obsolete. And relearning and new thinking is needed. And this will be no small issue in the world we see emerging. The nonlinear thinking world has arrived. It's here. The question that arises is, how do decision makers, institutions, retool and unlearn while learning how to coexist with chaos? Good morning and welcome to the Caribbean Risk Management Academy's ERM Conference 2022. The Honorable Adrian Leonce, MP, Member of Parliament, Laventille, East Morva, and Minister in the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. Mr. Kennedy Richards, MP, Member of Parliament, Point Fortin. Her Worship Salima Thomas, Mayor, Point Fortin Borough Corporation. Ambassador Ralph Thomas, Jamaica's former ambassador to the United States and the People's Republic of China. Mr. Warren Black, Australian Risk Consultant of the Year 2018 and the International Keynote Speaker. Mr. Anthony Severo, Chief Executive Officer, Hitachi Security Systems. Our guest of honor, Mr. Anthony Sabga, CEO, Ans McCall Group of Companies. Mrs. Frances Bain Kamovich, Chief Legal and External Affairs Officer. Other dignitaries, chairmen, CEOs, thanks for taking the time to come out and share this experience with us. Our objective at CRMA principally is increasing, as I said earlier, risk activation. A lot of folks talk about risk awareness. I think we have gone beyond, or we need to go beyond being aware. Risk literacy and risk intelligence in the Caribbean needs expanding. So I formed CRMA in response to a tremendous need for risk management training, and my friend Paul would have mentioned this. And that continues to evolve. The things we were speaking about 2 years ago, we cannot now simply just speak about those things. Risk is not static. It morphs, it metastasizes. In politics, there's a theory called the thermostat theory of politics, which is an idea developed by political scientist Christopher Welzine, which says that public opinion often moves in the opposite direction of government policy. I would like to borrow from that theory and submit that there exists in the Caribbean a thermostat theory around risk management, where institutions, decision makers are moving in the opposite direction of effective risk management. But there are a few exceptions, and I'm happy to say one such exception is here with us today. More on that later. Yet another explanation as to why risk management, or ERM, might not be taken seriously can be attributed to a quote by anthropologist Anis Nin, who said, "What we are familiar with, we fail to see." One more to put a finer point on this problem. It is difficult to get a man or woman to understand something when his or her salary depends on him or her not understanding it. So why aren't some of our business leaders, future leaders, politicians, teachers exposed to training around resilience, risk management, system thinking, lateral thinking? Why is it? I submit that there must be a shift from the adaptive or reassured leader towards a more risk intelligent, resilient leader. Experts have said that who leaders become and how they lead is a function of what they know and are exposed to. And folks, I can attest to that on a very personal, professional level. I have said many times, and there are some who may disagree, but leaders who are singularly relying on their experiences or the experience of those around them is adding additional risk to their organization. Future leaders from today going forward cannot continue to manage what researchers, including Mr. Black, who we'll hear from in a bit, call sequential reasoning, where A leads to B leads to C. They must instead apply a system thinking approach where you look at the entire picture, the patterns, and consider, get this folks, the mindset. Nassim Taleb added one more attribute to that. He said they must also have skin in the game. In the future, we do not need any more linear or cause and effect risk managers, CEOs, CROs, government ministers. We need divergent views. We need contrarians, nonconformists, and obviously more risk intelligent leaders. To the parents, teachers, HR personnel, training professionals who are here today and who are listening out there, how are you preparing your employees, your students, your managers, your children to live and work in this new frontier? Let me share a quote from a book, one of my favorite books, by the way. It's called Anthrovision, A New Way to See the World in Business and Life, written by an anthropologist who's also head of the Financial Times in the UK, Ms. Gillian Tett. Parents wanted to build character, curiosity, self-expression, and resilience in their children, which would prepare them for a diverse social interactions to come, because they are fretted about an uncertain future where their children would have to get along with different humans and AI-enabled machines. Culturally, there must be a shift away from a reassured child, manager, leader, and towards the resilient child, manager, leader. Being adaptive is more of a 21st century skill. Make of that statement what you will, but my friends, we must prepare our kids, our future leaders, current decision makers, to function and lead in a strange new world of complex risks, wicked problems, and unprepared employees. Finally, one of my favorite authors, Mr. Machiavelli, said, "There's nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things." And as I would oftentimes say, and some of you guys would have heard me say, hamana, hamana, hamana. Welcome to my rule. Thanks many times over for taking the time to be here once again. And let's have an instructive, informative, and a constructively disrupting conference. Thanks.